Hey there, everybody. Pete Pardo here from Sea of Tranquility. We've got a very, very special show here today. I've got two awesome guests. All right, we're going to do a show that's all about cover tunes that are better than the originals. Kind of a cool concept, right? So with me, I've got Craig and George Sybert from the Music Musing podcast. Craig and George, say hi.
Hey, how you guys doing?
What's up? I'm ready to do this. I've been looking forward to this for weeks now, so I'm ready. Ready to go.
Big fan of the RANT series.
This is a rant, okay? So this is on our rant playlist. This is a rant about cover songs that are better than the originals. We've been, like I said, we've been talking about doing this for a number of weeks, and we've got our list together. We've done some similar themed shows on the Music Musing podcast, and I've kind of always wanted to recreate that here on Sea of Tranquility, so we're going to get started. So I'm going to point to Craig, who just took a sip of his drink, to kick us off. And again, these are not in any particular order. We're each going to do 10 cover song favorites that we think are better than the originals, and then we'll throw in some honorable mentions at the end. So
and
Craig,
are purely opinionated. Purely.
Yeah, that's right. So there's no right or wrong here. These are just our favorites. Okay.
Wait till I start my list before you say there's no wrong, because you guys.
That's okay, because all the hate mail goes to Pete anyway. So.
That's right. That's right.
Well, I'll tell you that I do have a caveat to this. That for me, unfortunately, a lot of these songs are close. I still like the covers better, but most of these songs are really good. So, and that's the problem I found is when I went out looking for covers, bands don't cover bad songs. Bands cover, decent songs. Well, hold that. That's my caveat. Is the ones that were so obvious that I don't even recognize the original song. I didn't really throw those on the list. What for me it was I really like this song, but the cover was a little bit better for me. So that's where I went with it. I know you guys might have went with the obvious ones, but I'll start mine off. And again, Pete, sit down because of your shirt is really throwing me off right now. But I love the White Zombie version of Children of the Grave. I am a big fan of Black Sabbath anyways. But that song just always felt, I don't want to say slow, but slow for them. And the White Zombie version is just like 100 miles an hour. So that's where I started my list. Was I've listened to that song forever. And George, the singer for my local band, Pat Williams, is a big, old Sabbath fan. And he used to play that song all the time. And every time it would come on, I'm like, man, Paranoid's good. War Pigs is awesome. And then Children of the Grave is a great song, but it just falls flat for me. And then White Zombie just kind of revived it. So, okay.
So I guess we're going to end the show right now. And
oh, wait, because my number one's going to be as a Black Sabbath song too. So.
Oh my God. No, wrong shirt for this.
I know. And this is one I'll just start out with. I like the original. I love the original, but Godsmack's version of Sweet Leaf, I think is.
But again, those songs aren't bad. I'm not saying they're bad.
I preface it. I say I love the original. I think Godsmack took it to the next level with their rendition of Sweet Leaf. It comes in with that same kind of repetitive cough thing there, and it just does it differently. But it's heavier, and Sully's vocals kind of give that song what I think it was always missing. I mean, Ozzy's vocals on Black Sabbath are unmistakable. Godsmack turned it into kind of like a heavier, like a darker version of that song, kind of, I think. And I just again, these are in no particular order, but since we were throwing jabs at Black Sabbath, I thought I'd start with that one since Craig did.
Well, I'll give you both guys something. It's both of those covers kind of took those classic tunes and kind of brought them into the modern era.
Right.
And I think both of them have like a little bit of, sheen and better production values, at least, modern production values. And, whether they're better or worse or not, I think they're both very, very capable and very commendable. And, good picks. Personally, I'm a Black Sabbath purist. So you're never going to hear me say those words, but
absolutely.
But that's cool, though.
That's why we're on the show.
That's right. That's right.
Nobody threw punches at me, so I'm feeling pretty good right now. Well, give us one of yours then.
All right, so I'm going to get this one out of the way first because I already had one or two viewers say, "Oh, so basically you guys are going to do a blinded by the light cover version show." So that was on my list, right? So blinded by the light by Manfred Mann's Earth Band. Probably in my opinion, one of the greatest covers of all time, and definitely better than the Bruce Springsteen version, right? Which,
without question, yes.
right. I mean, that's early Bruce before he kind of really, I think, found his way. And while a good song, I mean, man, you put the two of them together, there ain't
no comparison. Yeah,
right, no comparison. So I wanted to get that one out of the way first, all right, because I had to include it because it's probably my favorite. But I think a lot of people would say the same thing, right? So
I was gonna say that's almost a gimme. I think you need to give us another one at this point because that's
I can do it. You want another one? I'll give you another one.
Let's go.
All right, here we go. Diamonds and Rust by Judas Priest, originally done by Joan Baez. And is there anybody out in the world who would ever care to hear the Joan Baez original? Not me.
I think I've only heard it once. I think I did it to go back and listen and go, what is? Oh no, I
never
don't
need to again, right? But yet the Judas Priest version.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah.
That's a classic Priest early one. I mean, that's like when you talk about them and their songs, you get Blackout and stuff like that. And man, that's a good one. I hadn't even thought about that one for a very long time. A lot of these songs sometimes crept up on me that they were covers, and that's a good one. Good choice.
Exactly. All right, Craig, what do you got?
I have. So I was not a fan of George Michael nor Faith, the song at all. But the Limp Bizkit version came at a time when I needed that. Let's just put it that way. And it revived that song for me. And I think I actually started listening to the words when that version of it came out. And the words are really good. The words are fit more of a rock song than they fit kind of a pop song. But I hated that song. I hated that song when it came out. But when Limp Bizkit did it, man, it was just like, it was on fire at that point. And
most things Limp Bizkit did, I did want to break stuff, not to use a bad pun or whatever, but that when he gets to the end of it, it's like, yeah, that's kind of what I'm feeling once in a while. I get that.
And I think that's probably the one song that's furthest from the original for me. Like a lot of these, like I said, I love Children of the Grave. It's a good song. White Zombie just a little bit better for me. But this one is like probably the furthest removed. Faith for me was I hate that song just with a passion.
And I can honestly say I don't think I have ever heard the Limp Bizkit version.
Really?
Sit down and put the seatbelt on.
Please don't have your headphones all the way up.
Yeah.
If you want your ears to bleed. I'm not joking. It's almost laughable.
It is.
It's intense. You really find, I mean, Limp Bizkit turned it, I mean,
I've gone on record saying that Limp Bizkit has never done a good song. So I guess it would be telling that maybe one of their best songs is not even their own.
I was just going to say that's a fair assessment, seeing as how it's not really one of their songs. So
right. So
yeah. I think what they did to the Who's Behind Blue Eyes was horrible. I don't like that version of that.
We're keeping the tangents in, or are we going on?
No. I'm moving on.
Okay.
Next on my list is Cinnamon Girl by Typo Negative.
Ooh.
I don't think I've heard that one.
Yeah, I haven't heard that in a long time. Wow,
that's
Pete Steele's vocals on that are haunting, just ridiculous. I think it took that song. I love and again, this is another one. I love the original, but Typo Negative, he can rest in peace too. But they definitely did that song justice. It's not really that far off the original, but his vocal performance in that is ridiculous. And
did it slow it down? Like I said, I don't think I've heard it. Did they slow it down like they typically do with this?
Oh song? Yeah. I mean, it's slower, but I mean, it was
like kind of already a slow song, anyways.
Yeah, and it's heavier, crunchy guitar, and it's just ridiculous.
I can't wait to hear Pete tear you apart on this one, though.
No, I'm not a big Typo fan, but I remember liking that.
Do you? Okay. Yeah, are Neil Young fan?
I do like Neil Young, yeah.
Okay. Like Young before with the group or just by himself?
I like the early Neil Young stuff.
Okay.
Yeah. Like his first half a dozen albums are really good. And that's a great tune. And that's a good cover. That's a really good choice. I never would have expected that. There's so many out there, right?
Oh God, no.
Right. This I could make months worth of episodes out of just covers too, but I digress.
All right, so let me I'll throw one at you, which also might be one of my favorites here. And the original is good, but the remake is absolutely dynamite. So we're going to go back to 69 here. I'm a Man by Chicago, originally done by the Spencer Davis Group. That Chicago version is hot.
I don't think I've heard the original one of that.
Oh, Craig, when we get done taping, you got to go listen.
Yep, I will. It's adding it to my list right now. Yeah. So who was the original?
The Spencer Davis Group. So Steve Winwood and Company.
Right.
That's almost like cheating, though. Wow.
Why?
I was just thinking. I think that's a coin flip for me. I think both versions are excellent.
Well, that's why I started off saying that the Spencer Davis original is very, very good, but I think the Chicago version is even better.
And this is opinion driven, and what Craig say, it's a safe zone. There's no argument. No argument.
So far.
Put it to this way: the Chicago version has Terry Kath on lead guitar.
Oh yeah.
Need I say more?
And horns, probably. My assumption is
horns, and and Peter Cetera on vocals, and much better than that. So.
I was just gonna say it's hard to argue.
So everybody knows that George and I on Music Musing are country aficionados, right? We love country. Yeah, he's
looking the other way. He's trying to find a corner to hide.
What? No, I didn't know who he was talking about.
I do like. I'm probably more closer to old country than you are. I like a lot of the old country. I like a lot of the Waylon Jennings, the Cash and.
All right. Don't do it.
Huh?
Go ahead.
No, I love the version, the Jolene original version, but the White Stripes changed that song for me. And they really took that song and made it into something completely different. And the first time I heard it, I didn't even know who the White Stripes were at the time. And the first time I heard it, I'm like, wow, somebody took this song and just totally made it a dark song. When you listen to the original, if you don't pay too close attention to the words, it's not extremely dark song. It's kind of peppy and upbeat. But man, they took it and made it like a dark, hallway song where you're wondering what's going on in the background. But yeah, that was for me was, again, I like the original, but the cover for me was just amazing.
So it was basically a reimagining, which I always give a lot of credit to bands who do that. So they try to take a very good song and make it their own, not a note for note interpretation of it, but let's try and do something a little different with it. And whether I like it or not, I can always appreciate that.
That's exactly what I was going to say. A lot of these covers, I might not like either song, but I think maybe we talked about this the other day, that I really appreciate what they get out of it, what they see, what they hear, or what they change it into. And that one of the ones that's a nice lead was Lenny Kravitz's version of American Woman. I guess he's American Woman. I like the original, but what Lenny Kravitz, I think that's, like Craig mentioned, Limp Bizkit, I think that's the farthest difference in from the original to the cover on my list. He
added a lot of like funk and soul to that, which I really liked a lot.
Yeah.
The original by the Guess Who is a good tune, but
and it was 60s, it was wartime, but Lenny's just filthy. I mean, that song, it made that song what I always thought it should have been. You kind of feel like you need a shower afterwards, and it's like, that's a great song, that's the one that's farthest away from the original, and I probably one of my favorite covers anyway.
I would say that if you're talking about the original American Woman without the acoustic intro, I'm okay with this. But if you throw the acoustic intro on it, then it's for me, it's better than Lenny Kravitz. But I'm not a big Lenny Kravitz fan. So.
It's a valid song. That's valid. The acoustic intro on the original Guess Who version is phenomenal. But
yeah, agreed.
As far as my cover songs, I think that's one of my favorites. So
cool. That's a good one. I like that. All right, so I got one for you here. God, what year was this? Well, the original goes back a ways, but the cover was early 70s. I don't know, 71, 72. The Locomotion by Grand Funk Railroad.
Wow.
Originally done by the Ventures and the Chiffons and written by Carole King.
Yeah.
Oh, Carole King wrote that song originally?
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
Wow. Now, see, that's one of those party songs.
It totally is. Totally is.
I mean, if you're at a party and they don't play that song, it's like, eh.
it's just so much fun, man. You can't just sit still listening to Grand Funk's The Locomotion. You get
I don't think you can sit still listen to anything by them, can you? I mean, it's like
that's true. Yep, absolutely. Yep.
They were like they were like what disco kind of wanted to be, but went into the pop range. Yeah,
It was kind of like Southern rock on dance.
Yeah, exactly. Are we back to Tex-Mex again?
No, we're not. We're not. That's not an issue this time.
All right, Craig, what do you got?
Okay, here's where you guys start throwing punches at me. Never liked this girl's voice. Hated her voice. So the original one was mediocre to me. I respect this band a lot. I respect what they've done and where they are in history. And there's a couple songs that I like, but the Smashing Pumpkins version of Landslide is a million times better for me. I know.
Wow.
I know. I'm not a fan of her voice.
You said you didn't want punches thrown, and you just insulted Stevie Nicks? Wow.
I did. I'm not a big fan of her voice. I like when they're singing together in Fleetwood Mac. I'm kind of comfortable with a lot of their songs, or them even going back and forth. But that song itself is just her voice is so nasally and drives me nuts. But Smashing Pumpkins.
Billy Corrigan's voice is better.
Hold on. If you listen to that song, it doesn't sound a lot like Smashing Pumpkins in the way he sings in Smashing Pumpkins.
You just
go back and listen to it.
You more or less just okay.
You told me I'm leaving those 3 words out, and you promised to be nice to me if I left those 3 words out tonight.
I did.
You did.
I did, and I will.
So I'm
Billy Corrigan better than Stevie Nicks.
No.
It is on record.
Wow, I did not say that at all.
Well, that's what I heard.
Pete will never let me back on his anymore after statements.
Hey, we're all entitled to our own opinions. I get it. I'm not going to agree with that one. But that's all right.
I wasn't looking for acceptance on that one. That was just me personally.
George, you finally started in with that one. You were probably like, all right, here come the tomatoes and the vegetables.
I did.
Absolutely, yes. So my next one is I always kind of dug the original version, but I think Maynard's probably one of the smartest guys going right now, even as much as he pisses his fans off with his ignorance and his, I don't know whatever you call it. Anyway, Puscifer's version of Rocket Man, the Elton John song, is to me kind of what it should have been, that Elton John didn't have the technology or the wherewithal in the 70s to do that. It really is, and it's spacey, and the Rocket Man, I mean, I think it works so much better than Elton John's that. And I'm actually a fan of the Elton John version, but I think Puscifer's version of Rocket Man is next level. I think it's what that song should have been originally. And well,
George, I've never heard it, so I can't shout blasphemy, because that's the first thing I was thinking is like, because I'm a big Elton John fan, but Maynard is a borderline genius guy. So before I say any more, I should go listen to that.
Yeah,
well, I will say this: if you're a fan of Elton John, he did the song justice. He most certainly didn't take it where it didn't need to be. It's very, very respectful.
A good homage, then. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, no, I really think you'll dig it. So
I'll definitely check that out.
Yeah, I think the assessment of Maynard though is correct. I think that it's hard to see his genius when you look at the albums that they put together as Tool and Perfect Circle and Puscifer and stuff. But when you start taking individual songs and tearing them down and seeing how they do things, man, he is otherworldly at that point. So I'm actually excited to hear it too. I think you turned me on to it quite a few years ago. It's been out for a while, right? I mean, yeah. And I remember listening to it, but I don't remember listening to it with this thought process. So I think I'll go back and listen to it again. I've added it to my list too. So
cool.
That's what it's about.
All right. So I really like this next one. And I think I only heard the original once. The original was by someone called Lawrence Hudd. I'm sure everybody's thinking, who the F is Lawrence Hudd, right? The song is Sign of the Gypsy Queen by April Wine.
Jeez.
Really good Canadian band.
That's a cover?
That's a cover. Yeah.
We needed to add that to our list of covers we didn't know were covers.
Yeah, right.
I think probably 90% of the world thought that was an original tune, but yeah, that's a cover of a very mediocre, long forgotten tune that they took and ran with it and made it. That's a killer tune.
Yeah, no, I know the song. I fall into that 90th percent that had no clue that wasn't theirs.
Yeah, that should have appeared on our no idea.
Yeah,
I'm still embarrassed to not know that the Hard to Handle was a cover.
Yeah. Well,
I didn't know at the time either.
Seriously?
At the time, I didn't know.
So much better. I'm justified.
I guess.
Well, mine's probably digging way back further than that then, actually. So I'm a big fan of Metallica doing covers. I mean, they did a couple albums of just good covers, and their cover of Whiskey in a Jar is probably my favorite off of both the albums they put out that had covers on them.
Yeah,
I know Thin Lizzy did it as well, and it's a traditional Irish song. And I'm not too big on the traditional Irish sound of the original song, and Thin Lizzy kind of stayed close to that anyways. So when Metallica did it, wow, it was like, this is a completely different, it felt like when you listen to the Irish drinking version of it, it just feels like, it's rolling and you're just kind of moving along.
Yeah,
there's
Metallica and
but when Metallica does it, it feels like a story. It feels like you're going through an adventure. And man, I love their version of it. That's me digging way back. And again, I guess the more I look at them, the more they are kind of distanced from the originals. But yeah, this one's definitely pretty far from the original for me.
That's good. Yeah. Great choice, though. And I actually have one on my list from the garage days. And I could have picked like three of them because Metallica did a really good job on a couple of those tunes.
They did.
I would say probably 75% of those covers were actually damn good.
Yes.
Maybe not better than the originals in some cases, but really good.
Yes.
Great interpretations. And they covered a lot of obscure things too. I mean, like Diamond Head and so on and so forth.
Butchie and all sorts of stuff. And Fade and
yeah. If you listen to the original Bread Fan, you're like, wow.
Yeah, I know.
They got that out of that. All right, where am I at? I'm going to okay, now comes like, other than starting off with Sweet Leaf by Godsmack, I have like a small sacrilegious portion of my list. One is a Pink Floyd cover by Kitty of Run Like Hell. And Kitty is a 4-piece Canadian death metal girl band.
That's right, yeah.
And I guess that's proper terminology. And I'm a huge Floyd fan, not really a fan of Run Like Hell. I don't know why. But their version it just made it okay for me. I mean, I don't know how else to put it. That's one that's probably a good version away from the original too, as far as if you heard it, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Well, I'll have to listen to it because I have not heard it.
I say I'm scared at this point to listen to it. At this, it's we talk about, not to go too off on tangents, but we talk about a lot of these songs being sacrilegious. And George, you and I even had this idea for a podcast at one point about talking about songs that you shouldn't cover, like Stairway to Heaven's one of those songs that whether you like it or not, if somebody covers it, they're going to get lambasted no matter how good they do at it. So we got to be cautious where we're stepping with songs like that. But man, I would say if I was going to pick something by Pink Floyd that I would be okay with covering, that's probably, like you said, it's more one of those ones that it's kind of more of a throwaway song. I hate to say it like that, but
it's more obscure. I mean, it doesn't get a lot of radio play. I mean, they're not going to cover another Brick in the Wall. I mean, that's, like you said, that falls into that category.
I hope not, anyway.
Yeah, that's one of the sacred ones they shouldn't touch.
Exactly. What else you got, Pete?
All right, so I'm going to go back to Metallica since we were talking about them. So here's one, and George mentioned it before, but here's one where I think the original is a really good song. But there's something a little bit extra special about Metallica, as I'm talking about Am I Evil by Diamond Head. I'm a big Diamond Head fan, and that song and that album that it comes from is a great legendary album in the annals of the new wave of British heavy metal. But I don't know, Metallica really knocked it out of the park on that.
Does he nail that solo or what?
Yeah, that was a perfect example of like everything going right on a cover version. And even though it's pretty similar to the original, they didn't really try to do a lot differently, but they just like amped up the volume, amped up the intensity, and it's just I don't know. It's
angry. It's almost angry. I mean, a song "Am I Evil," but it's almost angrier. It seems like than the original.
Yeah.
If you get a chance, check out. There's a live. The Big Four did it all together on stage, like Slayer, Anthrax, Metallica, and Megadeth all together did "Am I Evil" on stage, and it's pretty impressive. That
I think I saw that they did that. It was at Citi Field or Shea Stadium. I can't remember.
Yeah, one of the big stadiums.
I remember seeing that on YouTube. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Well, they would have to do that song, right? I mean, that makes
of all, let's see. What song can we do? Let's do that one.
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive. I mean, for 4 bands to get it right, all together, that's even more impressive for me. So
absolutely.
But I definitely dig it.
All right, Craig, what do you got?
Where do I go now? What do we got left? Like 5? We're halfway through. I'll go with an easy one. Seether covered "Careless Whisper," and that song is horrible anyways. But Seether did an amazing job at it. I can.
What is your problem with George Michael?
Exactly.
Twice now.
Exactly. Well, that was Wham though. That was Wham, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's still. Come on. It's whatever. Go ahead.
Did Ridgely do anything in the band? Hold on. Did Ridgely do anything in the band? Because
he did what John Oates did to Daryl Hall. It's Hall and
Garfunkel.
Oates. Yes.
Okay. So but their cover of "Careless Whisper" is really good. If you guys haven't heard it, go check it out. It definitely takes that song to a different level. It makes it, it keeps the melody in there, but his singing is really on point on that song, and it really changes the feel of that song as well.
John's voice is definitely on. I love Seether anyway.
Yeah.
That was actually on my list, so that's good. That was like an honorable mention on my list.
But like Pete said, when you take something and make it your own and do it right, you can tell, and it comes through pretty well. So that was one of the lower ones on my list.
Yeah, absolutely. So sticking with the sacrilegious part, Killswitch Engage's version of "Holy Diver," and we just missed Ronnie James Dio has been gone 8-9 years now. 8-9 years.
Has it been that long?
Yeah. It was just the anniversary was just a couple days ago as we're recording this, and but I think I love this is one that's I love the original, but I think they paid tribute to a great song and made it just a little bit better for me. I think kind of in the annals of "Am I Evil," I think they kind of did it. I think they kind of get it as Pete shakes his head.
Yeah, I'm almost there too.
I told you I told you I was going to step on toes.
I think that's one. I don't see that as sacrilege song to cover, but I see that as something
to cover it, and I've heard it. It's
okay.
Good. As far as being better than the original, though.
Yeah, that's where I was going with it. I don't know if you could make that song any better. I look, between you and me, you guys, all 3 here, just in this room, nobody's listening to us, right? Just us.
Not yet.
I'm not a fan of Ronnie James Dio.
Wow.
Oh, hold on. I'm respective his spot. I know I respect his spot, but that song, I love that song.
Where you insert a GIF of some guy going,
what?
Or the guy crying.
But I love that song. That song is really good, and that would be a hard one for me. I honestly, I don't think I've heard it. I'm gonna have to go listen to it and see what it sounds like to give my full opinion.
The Killswitch Engage version?
Yes.
Well, if you've heard the original, it's not far off. Just a little heavier guitar, maybe, or maybe not even that. Maybe a little bit higher guitar work. But his voice holds up. I think his voice holds up kind of in this feel of the song. I don't think they heard it. And I love the original. I think it's probably a coin flip, but I like Killswitch Engage just a little better. All right, Pete, fire away. Make it all better.
All right, well, I'm going to throw one of those. It's an old one, and it's one of those ones. I think the original is not a very good song. In fact, I'm not a big fan of the guy who sang the original and wrote the original. And I think that the guy who covered it really did a lot different with it. And it's probably a fairly obvious choice for this show, but I'm going to throw it out there anyway. All on the Watchtower by Hendrix. I'm not a Dylan fan. Quite frankly, I hear the original and kind of like, I want to just turn it off. And I think Jimmy just took that song and totally redid it in his own image and made it a legendary song, because quite frankly, without Hendrix's version, I don't think that song was ever going to be legendary. My opinion.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say I agree, because I'm not a Dylan fan either, and I've yet to figure out what the actual appeal is. I understand that 60s singer-songwriter motif, but I just didn't. I fail to see the level of talent that people that have made a 60-year career out of, literally. So
I think a lot of people love him. I don't know. It's funny. I'll tell you a real quick story. So about a month ago, George, Craig, I was in your neck of the woods on a business trip, and one afternoon, my coworker and I hopped into an Uber car to go head to dinner or something like that. And the guy who picked us up was like an older guy, 5-10 years older than me, maybe a little more, and he was cranking Dylan in the car. Cranking out loud. So we're sitting in the back seat, and this guy is just like totally oblivious that we're even in the car, and he's up there and he's singing, and it's so loud. And I look over to her and I'm like, I never understood with this guy. I just don't get the Bob Dylan thing. I don't get it. I know people are out there going to be writing in. They're probably typing right now saying, "Oh, Pete, you got to give Dylan another chance." I've been trying to give Dylan another chance my whole freaking life. It's not happening. I don't like him.
I think I feel about that cover like I said about Whiskey in a Jar. I think he turned it into a journey or a song or a story. I think he turned it when Dylan, it's kind of just rolls and rolls and rolls, and there's no feeling in it. But I think Hendrix turned it into like a feeling song and a journey and a story where you could follow along with it. So, but I will actually segue that into my next one, since I have a Dylan one on mine as well. So what? No, I'll tell you what, you pick mine and I'll pick your number one. I can give you your number one. It probably has Chris Cornell in it, would be my guess.
Not on my list.
Okay. Anyways, so My Chemical Romance covered Desolation Row for the Watchmen soundtrack. And it's at the end of the song, and it fits really well with the movie in general. But after I went back and listened to it again, that cover is, I hate the original. Again, I'm not a big fan of his anyways, but even that song is just really just weak, and it's short, and they kind of lengthened it a little bit for the soundtrack as well and put a solo and stuff in it. But that version of Desolation Row by My Chemical Romance is definitely one on my top list when I think about covers.
It's a good one. And I'll give you props. Not only are you wearing a Wolverine shirt today, but you mentioned Watchmen. So Craig's doing the comic book thing.
I may have a history in comic books. What do you think?
Or maybe you got a guest spot on Comic Book Beat.
I've got a good Iron Man collection. So
there you go.
George, what do you got?
So I'll go a little more obscure. One of my favorite punk bands, Authority Zero, covered an 80s pop song, Mexican Radio by Wall of Voodoo.
That's a good song, though.
The original was campy, MTV's finest, early 80s, probably 82, 3, somewhere in there. And Authority Zero modernized it and brought it. They're out of Arizona, so they've got some Spanish feel to it anyway, and it just really they punked it up, sort of, for lack of a better term, probably. And I think I was always kind of a fan of the original. When it was on, it was really kind of awkward and chunky, and they put a kind of a punk rhythm to it and really made it work. And that's always been one of my favorites. So
that's cool. I've never heard that version, but I remember the original well. And you just brought back a cover that I totally forgot about. A band, and maybe you guys, I don't know if you guys ever heard this band, but a fairly popular kind of underground metal band in the 80s called Celtic Frost also did a cover of Mexican Radio.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that actually was pretty cool, and better than the original. So
I if I'm not mistaken, I think they recorded at Morris Sound in Tampa while we were still living there.
Yes, they did.
I'm going to look it up.
You're probably right.
Yes, I'm pretty sure they did. All right, so lead on, Pete. What else you got?
All right, so what else do I got? How about Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin.
Mm.
Originally by Jake Holmes.
I'd never heard the original till we did our episode not too long ago on that. And man, that's a stark difference.
Oh, yeah. Big time.
Yes.
Big.
I did the same thing when Craig and I did a podcast about covers you didn't know were covers. That came up on pretty much every list going. So that was pretty intense.
It's such a I don't know how to explain the original. How do you explain the original? It's
it's very 60s sounding and just kind of
very psychedelic, I guess. I mean, I guess if you could say,
it's a totally different beast. Totally different beast.
Yeah, I agree.
You know, you can say what you want. I mean, people have been saying that Zeppelin kind of stole ideas and borrowed stuff throughout their first couple albums and what have you, but they at least took some original ideas and covers and really made them their own.
Yeah.
So, say what you want. They were a young band. That's what bands did back then. You look at a lot of the popular bands, like Purple did it. Deep Purple's first 3 albums is filled with cover songs. In fact, I'm going to talk about one of them next. A lot of those bands, that's all they would do were covers, right? Half the albums would be covers. But back then, you took an original song, and if you were going to cover it, you made it your own. You totally turned it around inside out, tied it around this way, that way, and it worked for a lot of these bands. As with like nowadays, a lot of the cover songs we get are basically like note for note renditions. With a different vocal style, different production values. But back then, you had to totally reimagine that song, and it came naturally for most of those bands.
Yeah, to speak on what you said about note for note, I actually took one off my list. It's been one of my favorite covers for a while. But I actually went back today and listened to the original. The Placebo cover of 20th Century Boy, the T-Rex song, is a really good cover. But when I went back and listened to the original, it's like, it's not that far off. It's just a little bit different vocals, but the guitar sounds pretty close and stuff. So, yeah, I'd take that off my list.
Yeah, there's a lot of those that are like that. Like I thought about putting, Land of Confusion.
Oh, Disturbed.
I mean,
but
it's like
a little heavier, but that's it.
I like the Genesis version a lot, but as cool as the Disturbed version is, it's really no different other than it's just more aggressive, right?
Right.
So I would say that if we were talking about people that were taking from old blues and stuff, my third, well, I wouldn't say it's the third one on the list, but I went backwards in order just to be in order. But the Nirvana's cover during their Unplugged of Where Did You Sleep Last Night is just both timing and song itself was earth shattering. And if you've ever heard the original, the blues original, it's kind of eerie, but not near as eerie as Cobain made it in that Unplugged version. And that's one that always stuck out with me because at the time I was going back and listening to a lot of old Robert Johnson and stuff like that. Because Clapton I think he did a cover album of he did a cover album, I think at one point in time, of just all Robert Johnson stuff. Yeah. And I got interested in listening to blues and went back and listened to a lot of that blues. And then that song, and man, it's eerie. It's so scary to listen to.
I don't have much input on that. I've never been a ginormous Nirvana fan per se. I mean, I appreciate what they did. I mean, their part in the movement, if you will. But that song always stuck out to me as one of his and or their better performances, and it happened to be a cover song.
Yeah,
I also can appreciate their cover of the David Bowie song, "The Man Who
Sold the World."
I almost put that one in there, but I really like the original better than theirs. Theirs is really good, but
the original's great. Yeah, I mean, I'm. And you guys, we've had this conversation before. I am not a Nirvana fan at all.
Yeah.
Like George said, I can appreciate their impact on.
Sure. Yeah, well, you at least have to acknowledge it.
Yeah, I do. I totally do. But I always kind of like their cover of the Bowie tune, even though I agree with you, Craig, that the original is an amazing tune.
Yeah, it's way above.
Yeah, better than that, but that's a pretty good cover. That is, and again, I'm not a fan, but that's a pretty good cover.
So to segue into the differences again, Static-X's cover of Elvis Presley's Speedway stands out to me as mind-boggling. How they, if you listen to the original, how they got that from that still blows me away. Huge Static-X fan. gone way too soon, like a lot of them. But when they covered Speedway, I was like, surely that's not the Elvis Presley song. I went back and listened. I was like, oh, it is. Oh my God. And it just, I really loved anything Static-X did, but I was like, man, that is so radical from the original. I couldn't get my head around it. And it always stuck out to me as one of the coolest covers that was better than I can take Elvis or leave him for what his mark on music is obviously indelible, but that song trips me out every time I hear it. It blows me away, the difference in that song from the original. So
that's kind of the point of this whole show, right?
Absolutely, 100%.
There's a perfect
True.
example of it. So
true statement.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. How about with a little help from me friends?
And
I know I'm going to get a lot of people saying,
no, you're not. You're not.
The best thing ever. Well, I'm sorry, guys.
You're not.
Cocker made that song.
He did. He made that song. Not only that, but if you go and listen to the original, so that was on Sgt. Pepper?
Yes.
The original? Yeah. That song doesn't even fit on that album. No. Every time I listen to it, I go, why is that on here? It's just, it doesn't fit like the story and the feel and stuff to it.
Really? Pick one of our other albums that fits on.
Well, I didn't say it fit on an album. I just said it didn't fit on that album.
Okay.
But yeah, no, I agree 100%. The Cocker version is amazing. It's indisputable. I mean, it's kind of like Along the Watchtower. It's one of those things where he pretty much made that song famous. Now, Sgt. Pepper was obviously famous anyways, but I think that him pulling that song off drew people more to that.
Yeah, I mean, they don't sound anything alike. I mean, they don't. And then, he performed that at Woodstock and bigger. And that's, whenever I think of that song, I think of him playing it at Woodstock. It's forever ingrained in my head. And honestly, I don't even think about the Beatles version at all. And I'm a Beatles fan, but and the sad thing is, and this happens a lot in a lot of these cover songs, it's like Joe Cocker will forever be known for doing that cover version. Unfortunately, he's not known for a lot else.
Yeah.
And that does happen too.
Yeah.
It does.
It's
I want to leapfrog Craig, since we're on the Beatles. Godsmack's version of Come Together is way better than the original. And I'm a Beatles fan too, but I had two Godsmack covers. They've done Rocky Mountain Way by Joe Walsh and stuff too, but which I really like Joe Walsh's version because I think that's Joe Walsh's signature song to me. But
that's Joe.
Come Together, Godsmack's version of Come Together, just it worked in today's times, I guess. It amped it up, and to me, anything Sully does vocally is that's where I like to be. Like, my range of vocal performances is intensity, and I think he turned that song into what this kind of our generation needed. Just needed a little more piss and vinegar, and I think they put that on that song. I think they made that song a lot better by doing that. So.
Did you have 3 Godsmack songs on your list?
I had 2. I said 3. I said Joe Walsh, but just 2.
I was gonna call a foul there, but we'll let it go since you mentioned it and didn't actually say it.
Wow.
So, Faith No More's cover of Easy is by far.
That's not. They don't change it though. It's the same.
Hold on, but
Mike Patton's awesome. So.
But they do. Okay, they don't actually change it, but
it's so cool hearing them do it.
It is.
Right? That's what it is.
It doesn't change, but it feels different. I mean, it's almost the same song, but even the background vocals that come in are like almost don't fit, but they're so off that they fit. And his vocals, I mean, he's an amazing singer, just hands down. But to hear him do that song is just like, wow, this is, and again, you're right. It's not that much different from the original song, but there's something about that cover that makes it feel so much better than the original.
The insanity is Mike Patton's got like 5 or 6 octave range too.
Yeah.
Everybody, the guy's like he does a lot of incredible stuff. I think Mike Patton's one of the most overlooked, smartest guys in rock and metal. I firmly believe that. He's Maynard on like Quaaludes or whatever. I mean, he's like just under the radar. I'm serious. He's under the radar. He always has been. I mean,
that's the quote of the day right there. He's Maynard on Quaaludes.
Even on, well, maybe Maynard's on Quaaludes. I don't know, but it's very possible. But Mike, that's an awesome cover. That's a great choice.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that one. And I'll tell you, while we're talking about Faith No More, and I'm not saying it's better than the original, because of course you know I will never say that. Their cover of War Pigs by Black Sabbath
saw that coming.
The best cover of War Pigs ever done.
Hands down.
Right?
Hands down. It is intense. I love the original version, but that Faith No More version is intense.
Yeah, it's pretty good. I'll agree with that.
So we skipped. Right. So what do you got, Pete?
All right. So look at what else. All right. So I talked about it before. So Deep Purple's Hush. Originally written by Joe South and recorded by Billy Joe Royal. The original is like, whatever. And their cover is...
Hold on. It's not whatever. Everyone that's listening to this needs to go to YouTube and type in the original and watch the video. It is a blast to watch. It is hilarious. The song is horrible compared to the cover, but it is a blast to watch him sing that song. It is hilarious.
I'll have to do that because I've only heard it.
Oh, it's
I don't know. Well, you might not want to then, Pete.
It's collars and bell bottoms, man. And I mean,
he did that to me a long time ago, and I can't unsee it. I'll warn you now.
You know what's funny though? Back in that time period, bands were covering songs that came out 6 months ago or a year ago. Now it's like people cover songs that came out 30, 40, and 50 years ago. Back then, it's like, all right, this guy released this single last month. It didn't sell shit, so I'm going to cover it, and then we're going to make millions, right? And that's what happened a lot.
Craig and I talked about that. Like Superstition, Stevie Wonder wrote Superstition for Jeff Beck. Jeff Beck's version is better, but Stevie's came out first because he had the marketing for Jeff Beck's record label couldn't get the song out fast enough. So he wrote it, he recorded it, he recorded and put it out before the guy he wrote and recorded for it. Before.
And actually, because you bring that up, so I originally had Stevie Ray Vaughan's version on my list, and then but then I went and listened to Stevie Wonder's, and I'm like,
No.
It's undeniable.
I love Stevie Ray's version of it. But
I am a huge Stevie Ray Vaughan fan. Craig, you guys both know that.
Yep.
But, I mean, that
Stevie Wonder's version that's a damn good tune.
But listen
to was great, but
listen to the Jeff Beck version. It is.
Oh, it's awesome.
As good or I'm not saying better.
Well, all three are spectacular.
Absolutely.
Well, it's funny you'd say, what you mentioned about covering songs that are just like 6 months old, and they were usually covering songs that weren't in their genre. They were taking something from disco or something from country or something from blues. Nowadays, a lot of the covers are rock bands covering rock tunes or, pop bands covering pop songs. Back then, you're right. It was, hey, this isn't selling in country. Let's pull it over.
Well, I think there's a lot more to choose from. I mean,
true.
By all fairness, I mean, look what you had to work with back then versus the technology and the capability now. I mean, you can. I follow Stone Temple Pilots, and they posted some girl covering one of their songs the other day. I mean, like, this is a great cover by this girl, and it's like, so like the band itself is posting cover songs of theirs. Yeah, so I think we're in a very different time frame. I mean, like when Jeff Beck covers Stevie Wonder or vice versa, however you want to look at that, it's very different than nowadays. It sounds dated, but like we're in an age of technology where we're doing this. We got three guys that are in three different states, thousands of miles away from each other, recording a YouTube show, but talking about cover songs. That's kind of where we're at. So
technology.
Yes.
I saved number one because it is my number one. It is the one song that I love the cover much more than the original, and this is probably one of my top 10 songs. That might have actually been in my maybe not. Anyways, but Cake's cover of I Will Survive is my favorite cover out there. Nothing against Gaynor, but that song is way too peppy and upbeat, and Cake made it a groove. They made it a perfect groove with a perfect solo in the middle of it. It is just my ultimate favorite cover song.
I think Cake had a knack for doing that a lot.
Yeah, but their War Pigs cover was bad.
Well, we've already discussed that there's only.
I know, but Cakes I Will Survive is definitely the top of the list for me. I actually saved that for number one because that is my favorite cover. That's a lot different than the original.
Yeah.
Yes. Very well. Anything if you cover anything disco and make it pop, rock, or metal, I mean,
it's true.
You're definitely going the other way. So I honestly did not have these in any order. I picked like my top 15 or 20 or so songs that I really liked. The covers better than the original. Rob Zombie's version of Blitzkrieg Bop by the Ramones.
What?
Is, to me, infinitely better than the original. I mean, it kind of slowed it down, but made it heavier. So it's very, very different. But
I don't think I've heard it.
Do yourself a favor. I mean, and no disrespect to the Ramones and their place in society or rockdom. I Want to Be Sedated is still one of the best songs ever written. Sorry. But Rob Zombie's Blitzkrieg Bop it makes that song what, again, like most of these for me, it makes it what I thought the song should have been to begin with. Even if I'm a fan of the original, when they, crank it to 11, add that little bit of, for me, it's 99.9% of mine they're heavier. They're heavier vocals or heavier guitar or heavier drums or whatever. So that's always what sticks out to me. And this was an easy list for me. I mean, and like I said, I could make one 3 times as long and talk for days. So, but I'll stop talking.
All right, so I'm sitting here looking, while you were doing your number one there, George, I'm looking at my list and I have one that I put in my original top 10, and then I have a couple honorable mentions. And I'm thinking the one I was going to just talk about is a pretty obvious one. And then I'm seeing one down in the honorable mentions that is damn good. And I just saw the band live the other night, so I feel like giving them some props. That's what I'm going to do. Screw it. Better by You, Better Than Me. Better by You, Better by Me by Judas Priest. Originally done by Spooky Tooth. And the Spooky Tooth original is a damn good song. But man, when Judas Priest got a hold of it, cranked it up a notch. So I originally was going to pick Black Magic Woman.
Oh, Santana? Yeah.
I mean, the Fleetwood Mac original is great too, but man,
I don't like the Fleetwood Mac version.
Well,
it's really mellow.
I've already voiced my opinion on Mac, so
you don't get to talk.
You're right. I don't.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Priest on for my last one in our top 10. So I think that's a great cover. And, and you could throw Diamonds and Rust in there too. They did a couple really good covers actually. So
well, while you're still on it, what's a couple you got any honorable mentions or?
Yeah, This Flight Tonight by Nazareth, originally done by Joni Mitchell. That's a really great cover. In fact, way better than the original, I think. And here's one that I'll throw out there that might piss some people off, but I don't really care. Shapes of Things by Gary Moore, originally done by the Yardbirds. I'm sorry, I love the Yardbirds, and that original is great, but the Gary Moore version, and a lot of bands have covered Shapes of Things, but I think the Gary Moore cover is one of the top covers of all time. Should have been in my top 10.
He was at the top of his career at that point too. I mean, he was just on fire too. So
absolutely.
What do you got for honorable mentions, brother?
Just a couple. I did have Seether's version of Careless Whisper on my list, just as an obvious.
Because it's good.
Hell Yeah's version of I Don't Care Anymore, the Phil Collins tune, with Vinnie Paul before passing away playing drums on that song, and it's a great version. I love the Phil Collins original version. It's very almost tongue-in-cheek, but Hell Yeah took it to another level. I do have one ska version of Come On Eileen by
Raincoats, not Raincoats.
Say Ferris.
Yeah, Say Ferris. There you go. Yeah. Yeah, that's actually a really good cover.
I love punk and ska anyway, and that's a great cover of a wishy-washy song or throwaway song from the 80s. And one specifically for Pete is Exodus's version of Lowrider by War.
That's really good.
It is a really good version.
Kick-ass version of a song that I'm so tired of hearing War's version. It's like overdone, but Exodus, like, again, just right there. Heavier, it's faster, it's louder. And
I don't think I've heard that song in like.
Really? Oh,
I'm not gonna. No. Hold on.
Okay.
I'm not gonna say years because then shows my age. We're back to Metallica. Their cover of "Die, Die, Die, My Darling" by the Misfits is amazing. The Misfits songs were so short and so underproduced, but still awesome, just punk rock mix. But they just took that to a completely different level. The cover of Little Nicky I mentioned the other night with Foo Fighters and CeeLo Green singing is still one of my favorite covers, and that was one of those ones where I'm a big Prince fan anyway, so Little Nicky's a pretty good song for me regardless. Soft Cell by Tainted Love, or Tainted Love by Soft Cell. I like the
Manson version better anyway.
I do, but it's still a cover. I mean, neither one's good.
Cover?
Yeah. So Amazing Grace by Dropkick Murphys. Their version is really,
I can't get through that song. I can't.
It's yes. So I did on video when I pass away at my funeral. That's what I want played.
It's already on mine.
Want that. And the last one I got is actually something that you actually turned me on to, brother, years ago. But Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Anthrax is, again, I know we're going back to the Sabbath thing, and you guys are.
I was going to bring that up because he's wearing the shirt, and
I know exactly.
That's a great cover. It ain't better than the original, but it's a great one of the better Sabbath covers I've ever heard.
Yes, which is why I took it off the list, because I think the original on that one is just as equal a merit as the cover.
I agree. That to me, I Sabbath Bloody Sabbath by Black Sabbath is killer.
Oh yeah, I agree.
And growing up being a huge Anthrax fan, it's like, wow. Scout's Honor, I heard the Anthrax version first growing up. I was like, who's what are they covering? And I had to go back and catch the Black Sabbath version. But great cover of a great song.
Yeah.
That doesn't rank on my better than the originals list.
No. That's why I took it off. That's exactly why I took it off.
So
cool. Well, this was a lot of fun, guys. I'll leave it up to the viewers to decide if they want a part 2 of this, because I guarantee you we could come up with a part 2 of this pretty easily. I think George already has his list.
I can have a list by like, what time is it? 7:30. I can have a list by like 8.
So that's everybody's homework to watch this video, and then if you want to see us do a part 2 of this, we will do it, because I think this was a lot of fun, and it's just a fun topic that we've never really covered on the show before. So thank you both guys for coming on board today, and you're going to be back real soon. But in the meantime, why don't you guys give us a little bit of information about where the folks can find you?
On any platform, you can search Music Musing without the S, just Music Musing, and find our podcast. You can find us at musicmusing.libsyn.com for the website. And we're on Twitter at musicmusing_. And if you look for George or Craig Sybert anywhere on social media, you can find us and reach out to us and talk to us about music.
Sybert.
There you go.
And we've got a pretty killer Instagram account, and it's a lot of fun. We've been having a lot of fun with that since
you've been having a lot of fun with it.
Well, Craig gave up the reins, so but we're on most social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, the website with you can find all the past episodes and check us out, and you can send us direct hate mail at musicmusingfeedback@gmail.com also, if you don't want to tell Pete that we suck.
Thanks, Pete, for having us on. We appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on board. So they'll be back. So we're going to do that What If show that we've been talking about. So stay tuned for that. And make sure you visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. Come see us on Facebook. We're on Twitter. And, of course, we're here on the mighty YouTube often. So like I said, look out for What If, questions and answers, top 10 songs, all sorts of great stuff coming up. So Craig and George, thanks again. And we'll see you all next time. Take care.
See ya.